Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto and Temari had a political marriage after the failed Suna invasion? Desperate to keep their alliance with Konoha, the Suna council decides to offer Temari's hand in marriage to none other than Naruto, after realizing who he is. Hope you enjoy the story, and as always, please like, share and subscribe for more. Now let's start. Sakura stared through the ceiling as she lay restrained on the bed. She wasn't seeing the ceiling. Her mind was stuck in a continuous loop. Leaning in closer to the trembling girl, he sneered as he whispered in her ear. You were always and will always be worthless, and now, everyone will know it. Her body trembled as she fought back a scream of despair, and unbeknownst to her, tears streamed down her face. Her mind began to flash forward from that moment. Running from the council room blinded by tears, she'd found herself in the marketplace. Without stopping to think, she'd bought an immense amount of sake and fled to the park to drown her sorrows. She really hadn't expected to awaken. The amount of sake she downed should have killed her, but it seemed that Ino, Temari, and Hinata's medical training paid off. For them anyway. Sakura had raged at them for ruining her death before she'd pulled out a kunai and slashed it up her left arm. A bloody frantic struggle ensued when the other girls took the kunai away, but not before she'd partly opened her right arm as well. As the darkness closed in, she'd felt a measure of peace. At least the pain would finally end. Once again, she hadn't expected to waken, especially not restrained to the bed. She begged and pleaded for her friends to let her go, and when they refused, she ranted and raved, cursing them with every vile insult she could think of. Eventually she realized that they weren't even listening to her, and she retreated into her own mind. She was midway through another loop when she felt a warm hand on her shoulder and heard the words she had waited for, even if she didn't really know it. Hello Sakura-chan. The words were almost meaningless, distantly acknowledged by part of her mind as she focused on the concern and warmth with which they were spoken. Shifting her gaze from the ceiling to her old teammate, Sakura felt a maelstrom of emotions when she saw Naruto. Rage, guilt, humiliation, despair, she felt all of these and more as she met his concerned gaze. They began to drown her, and she panted, struggling to breathe. Naruto watched the emotions spark in Sakura's eyes and briefly flashed back to the time when he'd felt them himself. He knew all too well how she felt, and he was determined that his friend wouldn't have to suffer alone like he had. Seeing her begin to panic, Naruto drew a kunai and cut through the restraints on her arms and pulled her into a hug. Shoo, it's okay Sakura. Let it out. As Naruto wrapped her in his arms, his words sparked a torrent from the pink-haired girl. How could he? She held. How could he do this to me? Sobbing into his shoulder, she whispered to Naruto. I did everything he wanted, I did everything they wanted. How could they just throw me away? I gave him everything. Was it not good enough? Naruto gently stroked Sakura's back as she cried and whispered her pain. It took everything he had not to go kill Sasuke and Sakura's parents, but he forced himself to calm down. We can settle accounts later, he thought viciously. He shifted his head so he could see the girl crying on his shoulder. For now, let's get you well Sakura-chan. Belatedly, he realized he was still holding the kunai he'd sliced her restraints with and hastily tossed it away. The sound of the kunai hitting the floor caused Sakura to jerk her head back, and a ghost of a smile played across her face when she saw his embarrassed expression. Naruto, you've changed since you were my teammate, but you're still you. Grimacing, Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Say Sakura-chan, would you like to get out of this room? Not trusting her voice, Sakura nodded. She flinched when Naruto drew another kunai to cut through the restraints on her ankles, and when she tried to stand, she would have fallen if he hadn't caught her. Naruto, she said weakly. My legs. Without stopping to think, Naruto scooped the frail girl into a bridal carry, getting a squeak of embarrassment from Sakura. It's okay. Naruto told her with a grin. Temari-chan told me you've been on that bed for the last 2 weeks. It'll take a bit to adjust to moving around again. Naruto, put me down. Sakura pouted. Don't worry, Sakura-chan, I will once we get outside, alright? Sakura felt some of her temper flaring but nodded resignedly. As weak as she felt, and as stubborn as Naruto was, she'd have to stab him to stop him, and she didn't feel up to it. A voice in her head disagreed, but she had long experience ignoring it. Besides, even if I did manage to get a kunai and stab him, he probably still wouldn't drop me. Blissfully unaware of Sakura's inner dialogue, Naruto cautiously carried her downstairs, worried about the girl's physical condition. Being more or less chained to a bed for 2 weeks had not done Sakura any favors, and he was deeply, deeply concerned with how fragile she felt. If he was completely honest with himself, he wasn't really sure which worried him more: her physical or her mental health. His eyes took a hard, determined edge. It doesn't matter, Temari, and I will have to fix both. When Naruto carried her outside, Sakura squeezed her eyes closed from the near-blinding light of the sun. With her eyes closed, she relished the wind as it blew through her messy hair. The scent of flowers and growing things made her realize Naruto had brought her to the garden, and she opened her eyes when she felt him carefully lowering her to a bench near the koi pond. Sitting Sakura on the bench, Naruto backed up to watch Sakura's reaction. So far, she hadn't been reacting like the Sakura-chan he knew, and it worried him. He'd picked her up expecting her to hit him, or at the very least tell him off for it, and her lack of a reaction bothered him. He knew she would need to talk if she was ever to recover from her recent trauma. But how the hell was he supposed to approach the girl nervously running her fingers over the fresh scars on her wrists? A soft rustling in a nearby bush gave him his answer, and he allowed himself to smile. No kunoichi he'd ever met had been able to resist his next move. Even Tsunade had fallen prey to it. Naruto softly whistled so as not to disturb Sakura from her thoughts, and a furry head poked up from the rustling bush. Naruto nodded a greeting to Fox and passed on an order. Go get Reynard, please. I need him. The fox yipped and ran off. Turning back to Sakura, Naruto crossed his arms across his chest and watched her trailing her fingers in the koi pond with a sad expression on her face. So caught up in watching Sakura, Naruto failed to notice Reynard's arrival until the fox scared the hell out of him by speaking right behind him. You needed something, Naruto-sama? Naruto swore he heard a light undertone of amusement and he turned to glare at his furry minion in annoyance. That's not funny, you know, he said somewhat crossly. Reynard dipped his head. Of course not, my lord. Naruto resisted the urge to yank Reynard's whiskers and settled with massaging his temples. If you're done mocking me, I need you to bring me one of the kits. Preferably one of the really cute ones. Reynard eyed Sakura warily. Are you sure, Naruto-sama? Your guest seems somewhat disturbed. Naruto leaned down and petted Reynard's head. Don't worry, the kit will be safe, I promise you that. I just need some way to get her to open up, and I know you've seen how women react to the little fuzzballs. Reynard's body language was distinctly amused as he loped back into the bushes. Oh yes, he knew how the human women reacted to the kits, and he thought it was hilarious. He'd even taken extra delight in sending kits after Temari because the woman tried to resist but melted every time. Perhaps the only reaction that amused him more was when the Hokage visited one day. That had been downright hysterical. It didn't take him long to grab the kit he wanted and return to Naruto. His amusement grew when he saw Naruto's eyes widen slightly in surprise. Yes, this was his ultimate weapon, the kit he'd personally trained to turn any kunoichi to mush. Naruto tried to hide his shock when he saw the small red vixen following Reynard, but he suspected Reynard had seen it anyway. Sweet Kami Reynard, is that Scarlet? The little vixen bounced over to Naruto and butted her head against his leg almost like a cat. Reynard chuckled at Scarlet's antics. Yes, Naruto-sama, this is indeed Scarlet. She seems pleased that you remember her. Naruto knelt and picked up the excited kit. How could I forget? Naruto said, rolling his eyes as he scratched Scarlet's ears. I thought Temari-chan had gotten over the whole cuteness thing until the day you unleashed this little lady on her. Both Naruto and Reynard reflexively looked around for Temari. The aftermath of that event had been somewhat painful for both, and Temari did not like being reminded of it. Still, it wasn't every day you caught a kunoichi like Temari giggling as they rolled around on the deck playing with a small animal. Shaking off his amusement, Naruto turned towards Sakura with a frown. She was still trailing her fingers in the pond while she stared off in space. The only good thing is that she didn't seem nearly as worked up as she'd been inside. It was a good idea to get her out of that room, Naruto thought as he walked towards her. Sakura was thinking over the recent events, but not as bitterly as before. She hated to admit it to herself, but crying on Naruto's shoulder had let her vent some of the pain. It still hurt, but she didn't feel like she was drowning anymore. Wrapped up in her thoughts, she didn't notice Naruto until he plopped a small red ball of fur in her lap. Looking up, prepared to tell him off for interrupting her, Sakura froze when she made eye contact with the fox kit. Almost against her will, her hand snaked up to pet the small fox, and when it curled up to sleep on her lap, she squealed. Naruto, this is the cutest little fox. Naruto rolled his eyes. Scarlet was scary, good at that. Sakura-chan, meet Scarlet. Scarlet, Sakura-chan. Naruto said, introducing them. Scarlet here is the one that made Temari-chan. Naruto paused. Yeah, well, Scarlet has a way with people. Sakura frowned, still running her hand over Scarlet's silky fur. What about Temari-san? Naruto blanked his face. I don't really want to die, but I can say that even Temari-chan is not immune to cute. Sakura couldn't help it, she giggled, and as she pictured Temari glomping Scarlet, she began to laugh. Her laughter quickly turned somewhat hysterical and then into tears. The laughter breaking through the emotional barriers all shinobi erect to protect themselves. Naruto watched as Sakura broke down with a sense of satisfaction. She was hugging Scarlet closely to herself and Naruto let her tears wind down. When Sakura finally subsided to occasional sniffs, Naruto moved closer and gently took Scarlet from her hands. Scratching her ears, he sent her on her way and sat down next to Sakura. Why did he do it? Sakura asked Naruto in a whisper. Naruto looked up at the sky as he considered his answer. He wasn't sure what was going on, but he suspected more than just one motive. He wasn't sure that Sakura was in any condition to deal with that. Ultimately, his decision boiled down to the simple fact that she had a right to know. I'm not entirely sure, Sakura-chan. I think there were multiple reasons, and most of them probably revolve around me. Sakura stared at him. You? What do you mean revolve around you? You remember how he wants to kill his brother? When Sakura nodded, Naruto continued his explanation. After our fight where I crippled him, Sasuke added me to that list, I know he did. Ever since, he's been looking for ways to get back at me since he can't actually fight me. Naruto took a deep breath and knelt to look Sakura right in the eyes. Temari, and I believe that the only reason he married you was to use it against me. Sakura sucked in a breath to tell Naruto off, before reality hit. It made sense. Sakura was far from stupid and now that her blinders were forcibly removed, she could use that intellect to its full extent. He used me. She growled, clenching her fist. Looking up, she met Naruto's eyes again. That son of a bitch used me. Naruto nodded. And when he didn't have a use for you anymore and he saw the chance for more power, he said softly. He fucking took it and abandoned me. Sakura yelled, finishing Naruto's sentence. Naruto sat next to her on the bench and leaned back with a sigh. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sakura sat quivering in anger as she fought against her inner personality, cries for Sasuke's blood. The inner battle abruptly ended when she remembered what Temari had told her about her parents. What about my parents? Naruto frowned. I don't really know. Temari said that Ino told her that your parents were the ones that more or less aimed you at Sasuke. According to Ino, when Sasuke kicked you out of the Uchiha clan, they disowned you from the shame. Sakura stared at her feet. Maybe everyone was right. If even her parents thought so, maybe she really was worthless. Naruto had a very good idea of what was going through Sakura's head and he needed to stop it. Sakura-chan, you know the burden I carry, don't you? Sakura nodded. After the arena fights where Ino ended up in Naruto's head, everyone knew. I've been where you are. Naruto said quietly. When I was younger, there was a time that I despaired, that I thought I deserved the treatment I received. Sakura opened her mouth to say something, but Naruto raised a hand to stop her. Do you want to know what I discovered? Sakura ran her thumbs along the scars, marking her wrists. It was hard to believe that Naruto could ever have felt like that, but remembering the image of the Kyuubi, Sakura shivered. Perhaps it wasn't so far-fetched after all. If you think it will help, yes, I would like to hear it. Naruto shifted on the bench to face her and make eye contact. I discovered that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. All that matters is what you think of yourself. It sounds simple, but it's really not. Naruto stood up and began to pace. If people believe in you, use that strength. If people ridicule you, use that as fuel to prove them wrong. Glancing back at her, Naruto saw flickers of the girl he knew in her eyes. I've talked it over with Temari-chan. Until you get back on your feet, you're welcome to stay here with us. Sakura stared at him suspiciously. Temari-san agreed? She really doesn't like me. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, you're right about that, but she knows that this is important to me. You do remember the one thing Kakashi-sensei actually taught us, right? Sakura nodded with a small smile. Those that break the rules are trash. But those that abandon their comrades are lower than trash. Naruto finished. Extending an arm, Naruto helped Sakura to her feet and let her lean on him to keep her balance. Don't think that this is done though, Sakura-chan. You're feeling better now, I can tell, but I really think you should talk to Ino-chan to avoid going back into the dark. Sakura stayed silent as she hobbled along beside Naruto to the house. She owed Ino, Temari, and Hinata an apology before anything else, but Naruto was probably right about the need to talk. You're going to make him pay, aren't you? Oh, you can count on it, Sakura-chan. Naruto replied grimly. Sakura tightened her grip on his arm. I want in. Naruto gave her a smile showing his elongated incisors. Of course, Sakura-chan. Wouldn't dream of not including my teammate. Entering the house, Sakura discovered why Naruto had dragged her back in. Gathered in the kitchen and living room were most of the kunoichi, their age, and several from the medical classes. He must have heard them or had a clone watching or something. Sakura thought. Feeling extremely uneasy surrounded by all the kunoichi, Naruto led Sakura over to where Temari was sitting by the vase of flowers and the box Niji gave him. Helping Sakura into a chair, Naruto moved to his wife and gave her a quick peck on the cheek. We need to talk. He whispered while he did so. Eyes flashing, Temari stood stiffly and followed him from the room. Heading downstairs, Naruto led her to his study and she crossed her arms across her chest and scowled when he activated the privacy seals. The answer is no, Naruto, she said as soon as the room was sealed. I'm not displeased that you got her up and moving, but I will not accept her as a sister wife. Naruto stared at Temari with his jaw hanging open. What the hell? Temari-chan? What are you talking about? Temari shifted uncomfortably, it seemed she may have jumped to the wrong conclusion. Isn't that why you brought me down here? Naruto sat behind the desk and thumped his head on the hardwood. Temari-chan, I'm pretty sure we've gone over this. Yes, she is one of my precious people. Yes, I did have a major crush on her, and yes, I do very much care for her. I do however not want to marry her. Oh, Temari replied quietly, a faint blush on her cheeks. Well, what did you need to speak with me about? What do you know of Danzo Shimura? Naruto asked softly. Temari uncrossed her arms and glided over to sit on the edge of the desk. Just what I've seen in the council meetings. He seems rather militant, but there will always be someone like that on a shinobi council. Naruto chuckled grimly and dug out a worn leather-backed book. Here. He said, tossing it to her. That is my father's journal. Don't take it from this room, the seals on it will detonate if you try, but you should read it. Especially the part about Danzo and Root. Trust me, Temari-chan, he really isn't normal for a shinobi council. Temari raised an eyebrow at her husband. Alright, I can read this, but why are you bringing this up now? I had a conversation with the man today. I tried to get him to stop backing Sasuke, but I don't think it worked. That man and his agents are dangerous to us, Temari-chan. Ero-sennin told me once that the most dangerous weapon for a shinobi is information. Naruto pointed at the book in her hands. That is information. Temari examined the book in her hands carefully. It was rare for Naruto to be this serious outside of a fight. She was going to have to make time for this journal. She didn't see Naruto reaching for her. Pulling his startled wife into his lap, Naruto wrapped his arms around Temari from behind and rested his chin on her shoulder. So, he whispered. What's with all the kunoichi? Temari sighed and raised her hand to pat his cheek. I told you, Ino somehow convinced me to hold kunoichi meetings here while you were gone. Naruto groaned. You mean this is a weekly thing? Temari reluctantly stood and pulled Naruto out of the chair. Yes, weekly. We've also been down here for a while and need to get back to our guests. Naruto pouted. Do I have to? He whined. Temari grinned and smacked the back of his head lightly. Yes, at least this once. It would be rude of the host not to put in an appearance. Naruto thought about pointing out that technically he had made an appearance, but decided it just wasn't worth the effort. Even if he won on technical points, Temari was perfectly capable of dragging him upstairs by his ear. Sighing in defeat, he extended his arm and Temari linked hers with a victorious smile. No doubt she did that reading my mind thing women do. Naruto thought sourly as he deactivated the privacy seals. More or less dragged upstairs by Temari, Naruto was forced to greet the assembled kunoichi, most of whom had been Uchiha fangirls if his memory served him correctly. It was fairly nauseous when they all simpered and flirted with him, and his only consolation was that judging from the nails digging into his arm, Temari didn't like it either. Finally done, Naruto led Temari back to the kitchen table where the girls he actually knew were sitting around chatting. Well, sobbing on the other's shoulders for Sakura and Ino, chatting for Tenten and Hinata. Guiding Temari to her chair, something that got him a glower from his wife, Naruto sank into the chair next to it with a groan. That sucked, Tebeo. He said tiredly. To think he'd once envied Sasuke his fangirls. Completely agreeing but wanting to change the subject, Temari picked up the wrapped box and pointed at the flowers. So, what's in the box and why the flowers? Naruto cursed under his breath, out of the fire and into the frying pan indeed. Well, I got the flowers cause I missed you while I was gone. Hey. Ino cut in. That's not what you told me at the shop. Ignoring Naruto's frantic gestures to shut up behind Temari's back, she gave him a wicked grin. I thought you told me they were I left on a month-long mission only leaving a note, please don't kill me flowers. While Temari assumed a thoughtful face, Naruto hissed at Ino. Hate you so much right now, you evil woman. Ino just laughed and stuck her tongue out at him. With everything that happened, I had forgotten about that. Temari said slowly. Naruto felt ice creep up his spine when she swiveled her head to glare at him. I'm so happy you could help me remember Naruto. Naruto was sweating under the joint death glares of the 5 kunoichi at the table. Making up his mind to flee and perhaps take them on at better odds, he froze when Temari grabbed his wrist. No, Naruto. You're not flashing away tonight. Damn it, how the hell does she do that? So, if the flowers are a bribe for your life, what's in the box? Naruto shrugged. I don't know, Niji said it was to you from Koyakiheim, from the land of snow. Extremely curious now, Temari opened the box and slid a note and an envelope out. Seeing the note had Naruto's name on it, she slid it over to Naruto and opened the envelope. Naruto recognized the handwriting on the front of the note as Niji's and opened it. Consider us even for the explosive clones. He read out loud, puzzled. What the hell is that supposed to mean? He cut off mid-sentence when he felt Temari's killer intent bear down on him. What the hell? What was in that envelope? Temari held some sort of photograph in her hands as her eyes shot daggers at her husband. So, you like kissing princesses, do you? At this point, Naruto was beyond confused. He didn't know why Temari and the other kunoichi were so angry, but it obviously had something to do with that picture. I don't know what you're talking about. What is that picture? Snorting with disgust, Temari flipped the photo to him. Picking it up, his jaw dropped in shock. In the picture, he was being kissed by Koyakiheim. When the hell was this? I sure don't remember. Wait. Examining the picture closer, he saw that he was bandaged and he recognized the room. This is in the hospital, but I don't remember this at all. Looking up and meeting Temari's fulminating glare, Naruto forced himself to maintain eye contact. I recognize the room, but I swear to you Temari-chan, I don't remember this. I was unconscious most of the time I was at that hospital. Hinata grabbed the picture from his hand and examined it. It's true. She said, barely stuttering. Naruto-kun only lays like this when he is unconscious. As everyone at the table, including Naruto, turned to stare at her, she let out an eep and tried to duck into her coat. Temari pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a migraine coming on. I don't think I even want to know why Hinata can tell if Naruto is unconscious just from his posture. Why is everything with him so damn complicated? Ino picked up the photo Hinata dropped and flipped it over. Hey, fangirl, there's a note on the back for you. Taking the picture from Ino with a frown, Temari flipped it over and read the back, face flushing with anger. Temari Uzumaki Namikaze. If what I've heard about you from Naruto is true, you are blunt and prefer to deal with things directly. I wish to buy your husband from you. As you can see from the picture, I have staked my claim. Please contact me to discuss terms and payment. Koyuki Kazuhana, Daimyo Land of Snow. Finishing reading the letter out loud, Temari glared at her husband. Naruto sighed. I had nothing to do with this, but that's not going to matter, is it? Seeing his answer in the stony gazes of the kunoichi at the table, Naruto made a break for the garden, the girls right on his heels. He put up a good fight, but the girls eventually cornered him near the back edge of the grounds and pounded him into the ground. Satisfied with their work, the girls left back to the house, leaving a twitching Naruto in a body-sized crater. After the kunoichi left, Reynard approached the crater cautiously. Naruto-sama, I do not understand. You could easily have defeated them with the exception of your mate. Why would you let them do this? Seeing the coast was clear, Naruto popped up and brushed himself off, looking only slightly worse for wear. Sitting on the edge of the crater, he wrapped an arm around Reynard's neck and laughed. Well, 1, it was kind of fun and it's the first time all 5 of them worked together for anything. 2, sometimes it's better to just take the hit. You heard them when they left. They got all that anger and frustration out of their system and they feel better now. Seems a high price to pay. Reynard said dryly, looking at the obviously insane human sitting next to him. Nah, they weren't going all out. You do realize you're sitting on the edge of a crater they made by slamming you into the ground, right? Before Naruto could respond, Reynard stiffened in alarm. A strange scent carried on the breeze. Naruto-sama, we have intruders. Naruto stood and assumed a loose stance. There was a chance that the intruders weren't enemies, but he wasn't going to count on that. Naruto watched the trees in the deepening gloom of twilight and noticed flickers of motion just before 3 shinobi and a kunoichi dropped to the ground facing him. One of the shinobi stepped forward and Naruto tensed. He recognized that uniform, those purple bow things were very distinctive. Naruto Namikaze, the androgynous shinobi said with underlying scorn. Our master wishes to speak with you. Naruto scoffed and slid his hand to the seal on the arm of his jacket. No, I really don't want to talk to Hibi team, but that reminds me, Kabuto get all healed up from when I kicked his ass? Who the fuck do you think you are to talk about Orochimaru-sama that way, shithead? The kunoichi exploded. It's not like we're fucking giving you a choice, Konoha, trash. As if it were a signal, the largest of the shinobi charged at Naruto in a berserk manner. Calmly judging the distance, Naruto allowed the man to close, then swept to the side, summoning his kodachi from the storage seal on his arm as he moved. With a flash of steel only barely seen by the man's companions, his head slid from his body as he collapsed. Flicking his blade to clear the blood, Naruto dropped into his mother's kenjutsu stance, Reynard standing to his flank, growling threateningly. I think you have it wrong. Who says you get a choice? Despite his confident words, Naruto was apprehensive as he faced down the 3 remaining trespassers. The odds were still against him and their body language told him he wasn't going to get another free shot like the corpse at his feet had given him. When the black mark spread across their bodies, he mentally cursed. He truly hated that seal and his experience with Sasuke told him that they were now much stronger than before. You fucking piece of trash, you're gonna pay for that. The kunoichi spat as she jumped back into the trees, raising a flute to her lips. Yeah, let's see how you like us when we've powered up. The one with multiple arms followed after her. Orochimaru-sama said we have to bring you back alive, trash. The last one said as he dropped into a taijutsu stance. He never said we had to bring you back in one piece. I'm going to enjoy playing with you. Naruto shifted nervously and remembered what Tsunade told him after the fight with Han. Sliding closer to Reynard, Naruto spoke to the fox without taking his eyes from the sound shinobi. Reynard, he said quietly so they wouldn't overhear. Fall back to the house and have the girls send an alert. Those seals they're using are really bad news. We need help. When Reynard turned and darted into the bushes, Naruto rushed forward, flipping his kodachi around to hold it against the length of his arm one-handed. Dropping low, he whipped the blade at the gray-haired shinobi's knees, forcing his opponent to jump. Gaining momentum by continuing the spin, he dropped his other hand to the kodachi's handle and slashed up, intending to bisect his mid-air adversary. The strike was deflected by a kunai-wielding arm that grew from his leg, throwing Naruto off balance. Refusing to lose his grip on his kodachi, Naruto rolled forward as the man landed, then was forced to quickly flip back to avoid a golden arrow that almost took his head off. He'd barely regained his balance from the flip when the gray-haired man came flying in with a roundhouse kick. Slapping the foot down with his blade, Naruto tried to counter but was hit by 2 other legs, throwing him back against a tree. Ducking under a punch, this time with 3 arms, Naruto rolled forward past the man before he planted his foot and twisted his body to drive his kodachi through the gray-haired man's skull. This attack was parried by a large, green-covered figure that smashed the attack aside with a giant club. 2 more crashed to the ground near him, boxing him in. Cursing, Naruto quickly drew and threw a Hiraishin kunai in the direction of the house. Desperately backpedaling and blocking with his kodachi, Naruto barely avoided being skewered by the spikes the second of the large figures used as a weapon. Feeling the Hiraishin kunai stop moving, Naruto took a brief moment to focus, then flashed away from his opponents. Reappearing about 40 yards from the fight, Naruto yanked the kunai free from the tree then disappeared into the nearby treetops. Leaning against the trunk, Naruto panted, trying to catch his breath. In the distance, he heard the kunoichi taunting her teammate. "Bah, you fucking suck, Sakan. That brat almost got you twice. Kiss my ass, Tayuya." Sakan, by the sound of it, the gray-haired one, retorted. "Kidamaru, he didn't go far. Find him." This really sucks, Naruto thought mentally running through his inventory. Since the fight with Han, he always carried some gear in the seals of his clothes, but he wasn't prepared for something like this. Especially when they work together like that and outnumber me. Freezing at that thought, Naruto almost smacked himself. I'm so stupid sometimes, since when am I ever outnumbered? A soft rustling in the leaves near him caused Naruto to duck just as a spider the size of Gaara's gourd flew over his head and landed against the tree trunk behind him. Slashing his kodachi through the spider, Naruto noticed a lot of movement in the trees nearby. Creating a handful of clones to preserve his chakra, Naruto began to hunt the spiders through the treetops. I hope Reynard brings me some backup soon. Temari, Sakura, Ino, Hinata, and Ten were sitting at the kitchen table playing ninja poker, more accurately given it was ninja poker cheating, when Reynard crashed into the room. Apologies Temari-sama. The tired fox panted. Naruto-sama is engaged in battle and sent me to acquire reinforcements. Temari narrowed her eyes as she stood and grabbed her fan from its place on the wall, behind her. Who and how many? I do not know, Temari-sama. The fox admitted. Naruto-sama seemed to know them and he killed the first one to attack. He said that we would need help because the seals they used were bad news. Temari jerked the tablecloth from the table, revealing a large seal on the wood. Sound mean. She snarled. Probably those sound 4 assholes if they all have curse seals. Pushing chakra into the seal, a large amount of weaponry appeared on the table. Sakura, you're in no condition to fight, so go warn the Hokage. When Sakura nodded shakily and dashed out the door, Temari turned her gaze on the remaining kunoichi. Alright girls, load up. We have to go save my baka husband. Waiting for the girls to gear up, Temari walked over to Reynard and petted his head. Leaning down, she whispered to the fox. How long has he been fighting? Reynard looked up to meet her gaze. Not long, Temari-sama. I ran here as fast as I could. Temari ruffled his fur gently. You're a good friend. Looking over to see the girls done, she straightened back up. Reynard, take us to him. Reynard dipped his head and led the 4 kunoichi out of the house and to the woods at a run. Naruto peeked his head around the trunk of the tree he was sheltering behind, then jerked back, kunai barely missing his face. As he jumped up and launched off the tree to another position. 2 clones moved forward and incinerated everything in the direction the kunai was thrown from with combined Kakakyu and Daitapa Jutsu. Ha, you missed shithead. The kunoichi named Tayuya yelled. Growling in irritation, Naruto began placing explosive tags as he looped back towards where he believed the sound mean were still tracking him. A flash from the corner of his eye caused him to kick off the tree hastily, and he was forced to kawarimi with a nearby clone to avoid being impaled by another of the spider guy's arrows. Creating a few more clones, he retreated behind another tree, while his new clone spread through the trees nearby. Focusing on the explosive tags, Naruto waited until a nearby clone was dispelled then detonated the tags. He formed a vicious smile when he heard Sakan yelling in pain. Creating a clone, Naruto dispelled it to pass silent orders to the rest of his clones to try to eliminate the gray-haired team. A scuffing sound from nearby got his attention and crouching he silently stalked towards the noise. It was with some relief that he found Reynard crouched low to the ground and ready to spring. Reynard. Naruto-sama. So, back up? Naruto asked casually. Reynard turned and began to slink away. Yes, this way Naruto-sama. Temari-sama sent the disturbed girl to get help and brought Ino-sama, the girl that smells of lavender and the girl that smells of sharp metal. Carefully following behind Reynard, Naruto mentally translated that into Sakura, Ino, Hinata, and Ten. Body moving on autopilot as he followed Reynard, Naruto began comparing what he knew of his opponents and the strengths and weaknesses of his backup. Temari was much like him, far stronger than her rank would make her appear, but she specialized at long range. Ino was a pretty standard genin kunoichi without her clan jutsu, and she didn't have the right support for the ones she knew. Tenten preferred long range, but as a member of Team Guy, it was likely she had a repertoire of close-range techniques and knowledge at her disposal. Naruto smirked as he patted a seal on the leg of his pants. He wasn't looking forward to the property damage, but he was positive that the Sound Nin would hate him for giving Tenten his last book of explosive tags. He frowned when he thought of the last member. Hinata was pretty tough when she had to be, but she was a close-range fighter and he was worried about her lack of confidence. Shrugging it off, he decided that he would have to just believe in the girl. He just hoped she didn't have one of those fainting fits. Everyone said she was fine and not sick, but Naruto was skeptical. The girl fainted all the time, how could she possibly be just fine? Reynard led Naruto into a small clearing and they found the girls waiting. Temari stepped forward and examined her husband. His clothing was a shredded wreck, and she could see traces of blood in some of the slashes. Reckless Baka, she mentally sighed. It disturbed her greatly that part of Naruto's fighting style was a willingness to take a hit if it gave him an opening to attack. So, who and why are you fighting Naruto? She asked with a frown. Naruto shrugged. I don't know. He admitted. There were 4 of them and they answered to Orochimaru. Temari's frown twisted with rage. 3 shinobi and a kunoichi? She asked. When Naruto nodded, Temari let out a stream of curses that rattled her friends. I was right, it's the Sound 4. They're Orochimaru's personal bodyguards. They would have been there when Orochimaru killed my father. The other Leaf Kunoichi looked at her with sympathy, but Naruto cocked his head quizzically. Temari-chan, I thought you didn't like your father much? Temari dug her nails into her palm to keep from lashing out. Yes, she'd told Naruto that she hadn't liked her father much, and it wasn't his fault that he didn't understand why his death made her angry. No, I didn't, but he was still my father. Temari paused and tried to think of a way to explain it. Even if I didn't like him, he was still precious to me, because he was family. Naruto nodded. Okay, I understand. So, how do we deal with our guests? A string of explosions rang out from the trees, causing Naruto to frown. They're headed this way, and my explosive clones didn't get that Sakon guy. Gazing around the clearing, Naruto felt a plan form. Alright, Temari-chan, you and Reynard should deal with the spider guy. He seems to rely on webs and arrows, so your wind attack should deal with him, especially with Reynard adding fire to your attack. Ino, Hinata, Tenten, take the kunoichi. I think she is the one controlling these 3 ogre things, but her attacks use a flute. Tossing Tenten a book of explosive tags, much to the bun-haired girl's delight. Naruto continued with his plan. I figure that since the 3 of you cover all ranges, you should be able to take her, just watch out for those ogre things. Ano, Naruto-kun. Hinata said quietly. Will you be okay by yourself? Naruto flashed the girls a foxy grin. I'll be fine, Hinata-chan. I've almost had this guy, but his teammates kept getting in the way. Naruto jerked his head up as a nearby clone dispelled. They're close. Spread out and look for your targets. The Konoha shinobi fanned out through the clearing and waited for the Sound Nin. Naruto's battle plan was pretty good for the limited amount of time he had to set it up, but there were factors he hadn't counted on. One such thing was his wife's temper. When the Sound Nin reached the clearing, Tayuya laughed. Sakon, Kadamura, look, the shithead brought some whores. Seeing Temari's slightly protruding stomach, she pointed it out. Oh, check it out, what kind of kunoichi lets themselves get fat? Naruto froze when he felt an immense wave of killing intent sweep across the clearing. Looking over at his wife, he could have sworn her eyes were burning green pools of fire. Kami, note to self, never comment on Temari's pregnancy weight. Disregarding her assigned target, Temari swept her fan completely open while biting her thumb. Swiping the bloody digit across the top of the fan, she channeled an immense amount of wind and swung as hard as she could. Kuchios, Kirikiri mai. She yelled, summoning Kamatari to ride the wind and slash through everything in his way. Everyone on the battlefield stopped to watch the carnage as Temari clear-cut everything near Tayuya, throwing the sound kunoichi into the air. As the girl fell, Temari sent another wave of wind to juggle Tayuya in midair. Having bought a precious second of time, Temari once again swept her fan forward. Kamaitashi no jutsu. She called, surrounding Tayuya with a visible funnel of wind. Reynard, Temari barked. Give me fire. Reynard braced himself and thrust his muzzle forward. Kitsunbai. A thick stream of bluish fire shot from his mouth, the recoil pushing him back slightly. The foxfire mixed with Temari's wind funnel, and even Naruto on the other side of the clearing flinched away from the resulting heat. Mercifully, Tayuya's screams were short-lived as the inferno quickly consumed her body. Releasing her jutsu, Temari watched in satisfaction as Tayuya's charred skeleton dropped to the ground and shattered. Turning towards the remaining two Soundnin, she shifted her opened fan behind her and placed her free hand on her hip. Either of you have something to say about my weight? She snarled, looking smugly satisfied when the terrified shinobi shook their heads, no. Seeing an opening, Naruto dashed forward at Sakon, drawing his kodachi from its storage seal. Aiming a slash at Sakon's undefended neck, Naruto cursed when the gray-haired shinobi once again grew an arm from his back that parried his blade with a kunai. The impact of the blade shook Sakon from his momentary trance, and he swiftly countered, spinning around with a multi-legged kick. Barely avoiding the attack, Naruto jumped back and began to circle, looking for an opening. Kidamaru. Sakon called. Release your second state. The unclean aura around Sakon intensified and Naruto watched in horror as the Soundnin transformed in front of him. The Soundnin's pale skin darkened to a sickly brown as he grew fangs and horns. Yells from his friends told him that something similar was happening to the other one, but he refused to take his focus off his opponent. He needed to finish this one before he could go help the girls. Resealing his kodachi, Naruto formed the seal for his favorite jutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He called, forming a small platoon of clones. While capable of creating clones without using hand seal, using the signs allowed him more control over the jutsu. Standing back, Naruto watched his clones surround the transformed Nin while he watched for weaknesses he could exploit. He gave a small grunt of surprise when another body, almost identical to the first, pulled itself from Sakon's back. Clone? No, that's not a clone, he thought as the two began dispelling his clones with ease. Wait, if they're separated, I should be able to hit him. Moving in with the next wave of clones, Naruto waited for an opportunity. The two Soundnin were hitting every clone that came close, but they were dispelling the clones and looking for the next target. They wouldn't be expecting a dispelled clone to continue attacking. Seeing an opportunity, Naruto dashed at the back of one with a Rasengan spinning up in his hand. He felt a brief moment of contact before the figure in front of him dissolved into his arm. An intense flare of pain brought Naruto to his knees and he coughed and spit out blood. A horned head poked out of his shoulder and laughed at him. You pathetic leaf trash. It hissed as the other figure looked on with a sneer. You're dead now, boy, and your little whores are next. I will destroy your body from the inside out. Naruto began to laugh painfully and both figures narrowed their eyes. What's so funny, trash? The Nin standing in front of him snarled. Forcing himself to his feet, Naruto smirked. Hebe-team didn't tell you much about me, did he? Raising his hands in front of him for a ram seal, Naruto dug deep for the Kyuubi's chakra. Who in their right mind would try to enter the body of a Jinchuriki? Channeling enough of Kyuubi's chakra to use his initial Jinchuriki state, Naruto smiled with grim satisfaction as the head on his shoulder began to scream in pain. Naruto was knocked off his feet when a mass launched itself from his shoulder and began to liquefy upon hitting the ground. Yukon. No. What did you do to him? Sakon screamed at Naruto as he watched his brother's body melt. Struggling upright again, Naruto's answer was cut off by an inhuman scream from the other fight. Glancing over, Naruto saw Berserk Ino surrounded by a chakra shroud pulling her fist from the remains of Kidamaru's chest. He cursed when he noticed the line thread of chakra connecting him with Ino and hastily stopped drawing Kyuubi's power when Ino turned on the other kunoichi. The connection cut, Ino dropped like a rock and Naruto turned back to his opponent just in time to catch a punch in the face that knocked him back against a nearby tree. Before he could react, Sakon slammed into him and began rapidly striking him with wild punches and kicks screaming about his brother. Unwilling to draw on the Kyuubi's power due to Ino's earlier reaction, Naruto had no choice but to weather the attacks until Sakon made the mistake of drawing his arm back too far for one of his punches. Reacting as the fist hurtled towards him, Naruto slid to the side, grabbing Sakon's wrist with his left hand and twisting it to throw Sakon off balance. Forming a Rasengan in his other hand, Naruto drove the humming ball of chakra clean through the Soundnin's head, resulting in a spray of blood as Sakon's skull exploded. Dropping his hold, Naruto let the body fall limply and staggered over to where the girls were crowded around two forms on the ground. Getting closer, Naruto noticed that Hinata was using medical jutsu on Ino's prone form and Temari was trying to heal a twitching Reynard. Did Kyuubi's chakra do this to both of them? He wondered, seeing similar burns on both of his friends. He was unable to continue his line of thought when the stress on his body caught up and he dropped to the ground. His struggle against unconsciousness ended with the sight of a worried Temari extending glowing green hands towards him. In the forest, a golden pair of eyes watched a Tsunade and an ANBU squad arrived and took charge of the situation. Kukukukuku, most interesting Naruto-kun. The form said, melding into the ground. It was foolish of me to try to kill you, those genes of yours are something to be prized. A steady dripping woke Naruto, and he cursed when he realized he was in his mindscape. Pulling himself to his feet, he staggered towards the fox's cage, wondering why the Kyuubi had dragged him there. Approaching the bars, Naruto saw the Kyuubi grinning at him from within its cage. Such a weak mortal you are, Ninjen. All this power and you still almost lost. Bah, Naruto retorted. Get stuffed, Fluffy. Those curse seals of Orochimaru's are really bad news. Indeed. Kyuubi replied. They twist and multiply the hatred of those who carry them until it is the only thing the carrier feels. Matters not if it is sealed, all would fall prey to it. This includes the Uchiha boy, and the one he hates most now is you. You should kill him before he becomes more of a threat to you. Naruto leaned against the bars, letting them bear some of his weight. I'm not going to kill Sasuke, just 'cause you say so, Fox. He said tiredly. I'm willing to believe you about the seals, though. When they used that advanced form, I could feel that hatred you mentioned, but Sasuke is still a citizen of Konoha. Kyuubi chuckled darkly. You'll regret your mercy, boy. Naruto sighed. Probably. He admitted. Doesn't mean I'm going to listen to you though. Reminds me, what the hell did you do to Ino-chan? Kyuubi snorted. I did nothing, Ninjen. You, however, you drew on my power and allowed me to operate outside your body. Naruto slammed a fist into the bars. What the hell did you do, Fox? Kyuubi lifted his muzzle from where it rested on his paws with a snarl. Do not presume to speak to me like that, mortal. I tire of you, leave me. Cursing the fox, Naruto released himself from his mindscape. No point in trying to talk to the teen when he's like that. Waking back to his body, Naruto noticed he was alone in his hospital room. Reaching up, he winced as he tore out the four and then slid soundlessly from the bed. Opening the bathroom door, Naruto was grateful to find some of his clothes and quickly got dressed. Sitting to pull his pants up hurt, so he figured he hadn't been down too long. Anything more than a day and the bruises would have already healed. Ghosting through the quiet corridors, he caught sight of Inoichi sleeping on a bench outside a room, so he poked his head in curiously. His somewhat cheerful mood from sneaking around the hospital came crashing down when he saw Ino swathed in bandages laying on the room's bed. Crossing to the sleeping girl, Naruto lay a quick kiss on her forehead because her hands were bandaged. I'm sorry, Ino-chan. He whispered as he turned and left the room. Making his way towards the exit, Naruto stopped when he heard raised voices coming from Tsunade's hospital office. No, you are not checking him out of the hospital tonight. Tsunade yelled at a visibly angry Temari. Tsunade-sama. Temari replied in a strained polite voice. My husband was not injured in the fight, just exhausted. She carefully stressed the word husband. When he wakes, he should come home with me and rest there. He does not like hospitals, you know that. Knocking on the door, Naruto called attention to his presence. I appreciate you looking out for me, Bachan, but I'm fine. What happened to Ino-chan and Reynard? Both women looked at him and noted that he was already dressed. Tsunade sighed and opened her desk drawer, pulling out a small bundle of bills. Handing it over to a gleeful Temari, Tsunade rolled her eyes at Naruto. Gaki, you just cost me money. I wasn't expecting you to try to escape for at least another hour. Sitting behind her desk, Tsunade waved at Naruto to take a seat next to Temari. Ino is alright. She was sleeping last time I saw her. Reynard, I handed over to Hana Inuzuka for treatment after we got you settled in here. I gave her orders to report if anything happens, so in this case, no news is good news. As for what happened to them, I'm not sure. From what the girls told me, when you used Kyuubi's power against your opponent, some sort of chakra thread linked you with Ino and Reynard and both went berserk. Tsunade eyed Naruto when he flinched. Got something to add? Naruto nodded unhappily. Fox team pulled me into my mind after the fight. He told me that I somehow allowed him to operate outside my body. I'm not sure if I believe that. I saw Ino-chan before I stopped using the fox's power and she was surrounded by chakra, but it wasn't red. Tsunade said, considering the information. That actually makes sense given Ino's injuries. Her chakra coils were strained, much like what sometimes happens with new mednin that haven't gotten used to transferring power yet. Intriguing, but for now, don't draw on Kyuubi's power if Ino or Reynard are anywhere near you. Better add Inoichi to that list as well, Bachan. Naruto replied quietly. He's been in my head near the fox, even if not as close as Reynard and Ino were. Good point. Tsunade agreed. So, you ready to leave with Temari then? No. Naruto said, crossly folding his arms across his chest. Turning to Temari, he gave his wife a mild glare. I'm somewhat upset with Temari-chan at the moment, so I'm going to go cool down some before I go home. Temari felt shocked and hurt. Me? Why are you upset with me? Naruto drummed his fingers on his arm in irritation. You are always reminding me about watching my temper, Temari-chan. He replied flatly. You've told me that it is probably my single greatest weakness. Temari nodded uncertainly. She did tend to remind him of that, but why was he angry? We had a battle plan, Temari-chan, and when that kunoichi insulted you, a very basic insult, you flipped out and completely discarded the plan because you were angry. But it worked out, right? Temari asked hesitantly. This time, sure, but if I have to watch my temper, so do you. Naruto said, pointing a finger at her. Standing, Naruto walked towards the door. I'm going to go check on Reynard and then I'll head home. I'll see you there, Temari-chan, he called over his shoulder as he stalked out. Temari looked at Tsunade. I guess he really is angry, she said quietly. Tsunade gave her a sympathetic gaze. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Naruto isn't one to really hold a grudge. I think most of that was fueled by him being upset over Ino and Reynard being hurt. Just give him some time to cool down, apologize, and this will be behind you. Temari gazed at the hands in her lap sadly. I hope so, Tsunade-sama. It seems wrong for him to be angry with me. Swanda gave Temari a knowing smirk. I'm sure. Now, go home. Temari stood and bowed, then exited the room without saying anything, causing Tsunade to massage her temple wearily. Ah, the pitfalls of young love. Damn, I forgot to tell Naruto he was training with Kakashi this week. The look on his face would have been priceless. Naruto gently rubbed Reynard's ears and looked over at the Inuzuka bed hovering nearby. So he'll be okay, right? Hana nodded while skimming through her patient's notes. Yeah, he had some nasty burns, and I was surprised to find such a developed chakra system, but he should be fine with some rest. Naruto carefully gave Reynard a hug, trying to avoid aggravating the fox's injuries. Hear that, you'll be fine. Reynard lifted his head slightly to glare. Yes, I told you that, Naruto-sama, now please let me rest. Naruto chuckled as he stood up and ruffled the fox's fur. Yeah. I got it, I'll leave you alone. Thank you. You can be very trying at times, Naruto-sama. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the comment. Really? Forgive me, Naruto-sama, the painkillers they gave me are quite nice. Naruto turned an amused glance on Hana. You got my minion stoned? Hana blushed slightly in embarrassment. Leaving the room, Naruto couldn't help but grin at Reynard's parting shot. I've told you before, Naruto-sama, I am not a minion, I am a vassal. There is a difference. Naruto chuckled. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. He laughed harder at the annoyed snarl from the room. For all the things Reynard pulled on him, some measure of payback was expected. He was surprised when just wandering around he found himself near his home. Groaning, he decided to go and get this over with. He shouldn't have snapped on Temari, but at the time he was just frustrated. Steeling himself, he entered the house and striped off his sandals. I'm back, he called. He paused, puzzled, when Temari came gliding down the stairs, dressed in a formal kimono. Welcome home, husband. She greeted him with a deep bow. Straightening, she crossed the room and linked arms with Naruto. If it is to my husband's pleasure, I have prepared a light supper. Naruto was internally freaking out. What sort of twisted punishment game was this? Nah, Temari-chan, what the hell are you doing? He saw some fire in her eyes when he went off her prepared script. What does it look like, Baka? I'm apologizing for my actions. But. Wait, what? Naruto stammered out. Temari laughed at the clueless expression on his face. Tsunade was right, only she didn't have to apologize for Naruto to have forgiven her. He really was such a sweet man, not a grudge holder. In a way, his calling her out on her mistakes earlier excited her. She didn't want a doormat for a husband, and now she knew that he would oppose her if he felt it was important. Jerking the startled boy closer, Temari laid a scorching kiss on him. So, what should we have first? She said with a smirk. Dinner or dessert? Naruto glanced at the table, then back at his wife. Slowly a wide grin grew on his face. I think I'm in the mood for something sweet. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya.